And if you're interested in this, I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off it, frankly, this morning. I got up early to do some additional prep for the show since I got home fairly
late. This
has
been going on for 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's definitely escalated recently. It's gotten much more violent. We've seen a number of people shot in Hong Kong. I know it's probably less than 10 that have been reported so far. But now we're seeing this morning as I was watching it, I mean, you can actually pull up the live stream videos of it, and I tweeted out a link on my Twitter account to those videos. It's @MoStreetman. So if you want to go check that out, and I don't know the exact status of it because I was watching it a little bit earlier this morning, and things may have calmed down some as it's gotten later at night over there. But I would tell you that watching these videos, there were actual instances where I saw Hong Kong police officers with AR-15s taking aim at protesters, and I didn't see any of them actually pull the trigger. But, of course, we're only seeing so much on these videos. It's one camera in one place and not everywhere that they might be. So there's definitely an escalation. Now, part of this came from the fact that the protesters and the students at that university there where they are protesting were throwing Molotov cocktails at the police and other things. And, it's an interesting question as we sort of ponder, the idea of the Second Amendment, and I would wonder, and some people may be slightly offended by this thought process. I don't know. I mean, I think there are people who want to be offended about a lot of things anymore. They're actually going around looking for things to be offended about. But, I would wonder if the people in Hong Kong are happy that they don't have Second Amendment rights. And so none of them have the opportunity to be armed or to defend themselves against what they view as totalitarian government. And actually, interestingly, at the conference, I got to speak with a young man who was Chinese from China and discussed the Hong Kong protests with him. And he was explaining to me how originally the protests started off, as we told you, because the leader of Hong Kong, who was installed by Beijing, she's strictly a puppet of Beijing, and that's how the people in Hong Kong view her, Carrie Lam, that she had basically put forward this extradition bill where they were going to be able to very easily extradite people from Hong Kong to mainland China to stand trial. Now, if you stand trial in mainland China, it's something akin to like the presidential impeachment. It's done in secret. You don't get to confront your accusers. And the idea is that perhaps you should come and testify to try to prove your innocence. But let me assure you, if they try you there, they're not actually interested in you proving your innocence. And even if you were to prove it, there's really no chance that they would find you to be not guilty. So who wants to be tried by a communist government in a secret trial in China? And none of the people in Hong Kong want this to be the law of their land. So Carrie Lam, the leader of Hong Kong, had pushed this forward, and that's really what kicked off the protests. But as I was talking to this young man, who's now a law student here in the United States, very bright young man, really enjoyed talking to him and getting his perspective. He was explaining to me that the parties have really become calcified in their positions. And even though the extradition bill has been withdrawn, and that's probably a temporary withdrawal to try to take some of the steam out of the protests, that now that's certainly not going to be good enough for the Hong Kong people that are protesting. And now they want more. Now, what more actually means, I'm unclear about, because, this is a struggle between the protesters who want more freedoms, more isolation and independence from mainland China. However, the British, if we remember, a number of years ago, ceded Hong Kong back to Chinese government in a process that took a number of years to occur, but has now occurred.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I was there 3 years ago in Hong Kong. The person who we stayed with, family member, talked about, we would go out at night to restaurants, nightclubs, walk around by ourselves. She was a single woman living over there, and she said, I really feel safe all the time because there are no guns here.
Yeah.
3 years later, a different story.
Yeah,
I mean, there are no guns there, but like to your point, I wonder how those protesters feel without that right.
Right. Well, and how much progress could they be making in getting their demands met if they were armed? I mean, you don't want war anywhere, but I'm telling you, what we were seeing this morning on the video cameras has echoes of Tiananmen Square. where thousands of people were killed by the Chinese government. And this could be happening again, and they will do this again if they deem it necessary. And as the young man was telling me, at this point, the Chinese government's calcified in its position of reestablishing authoritarian control over Hong Kong, because to not do so and to allow the protesters to, quote-unquote, win or to extract concessions would create a loss of face for the Chinese government. And that is not something that they're willing to accept. And if you understand sort of the Eastern mind and the way that they view the idea of the loss of face, I mean, it's a very difficult thing for them to accept. In fact, I think they essentially cannot accept it. So now we've got the two sides very hardened in their positions, and we've got outright violence occurring on the streets where, again, we're seeing people, Hong Kong police officers with AR-15s taking aim, and I would assume in some instances shooting the protesters in the crowd. So, again, you could go out to my Twitter feed if you want to see the live stream. You'll get some versions of the videos on different news wires and such. But I recommend, sometime when you have the opportunity, checking out the live stream, because you get the unedited version of it, and you can see sort of what's really going on. And I was just fascinated by it this morning. I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
Thank you for listening to the Morgan Streetman Show. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and if you did, please click like and subscribe to help us out. And remember that we recommend that you exercise your brain at least once a week.